My name is Thomas Edward Miller. I served in the United States Navy during World War II, and today I am 91 years old. When people look at me now, they see an old man with slow steps and tired eyes. What they don't see is the young sailor I once was, standing on steel decks in the middle of the ocean, wondering if I would live long enough to see another sunrise. I have lived a long life since the war ended, but the war has never truly ended inside me. It has simply grown quieter with time. I joined the Navy when I was still a teenager. Like many young men then, I didn't fully understand what I was walking into. I knew there was a war, I knew it was serious, and I knew people were dying, but none of that felt real until I put on the uniform and stepped onto my first ship. Training was strict and fast. There was no time for hesitation. You learned your job because lives depended on it. Sometimes your own, sometimes someone else's. We were taught how to fight fires, how to abandon ship, how to load ammunition, how to follow orders instantly. No one taught us how to live with fear. That lesson came later, and it came in ways that no training could ever prepare you for. I remember standing in formation during my first day of basic training, the drill instructor's voice cutting through the morning air. He didn't raise his voice to instruct, he raised it to remind you that hesitation could kill. We learned to make decisions in seconds, to act before fear had a chance to take hold. At first, it felt mechanical, marching in sync, learning the names of the ship parts, learning to tie knots and secure lines. But gradually, the weight of what we were preparing for settled in. The reality of war was no longer an abstract concept. It was a looming presence, waiting for us somewhere beyond the horizon. I was assigned to a destroyer in the Pacific Theater. Life at sea was exhausting even when nothing was happening. The ship never stopped moving, and neither did we. Watches ran day and night. Sleep came in short pieces, often snatched in cold metal bunks or on the deck under the stars, with the roar of the engines vibrating through your bones. The ocean stretched endlessly in every direction, and with it came a constant awareness that if something went wrong, there was nowhere to run. Each day, I learned more about the ship, about my crewmates, and about myself. The endless horizon was both beautiful and terrifying, a reminder of freedom and a reminder of vulnerability at the same time. The first time we came under enemy attack, I realized how small we really were. Aircraft appeared suddenly, screaming down from the sky, black silhouettes against the sun. Anti-aircraft guns opened fire, and the noise was so loud it felt like it went through your bones. I remember gripping the railing so hard my hands hurt, telling myself over and over not to freeze. In those moments, time slowed and accelerated at once. Every second stretched endlessly, yet everything happened in a blur. The orders, the gunfire, the screams, the smoke, all of it collided into one overwhelming experience. I saw men I had trained with for months falter. Some freeze, some rise to heroism I couldn't have imagined before that day. Courage, I learned, isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. One of the battles that stays with me most clearly is Lady Gulf. At the time, we didn't know we were part of what would become the largest naval battle in history. We only knew that the enemy was everywhere, and that our job was to protect the ships that couldn't protect themselves. Smoke filled the air. Orders came fast and sometimes didn't make sense until later.
Shells landed close enough to shake the entire ship. I remember seeing a nearby vessel hit and burst into flames. Men were thrown into the water, and there was nothing we could do for them. You carry that kind of helplessness with you for the rest of your life. In the chaos, you develop a kind of rhythm, a grim dance with death, where instinct takes over, and training becomes the only thing keeping you alive.
Later came Okinawa, and that was a different kind of terror. The kamikaze attacks were unlike anything we had faced before. These weren't pilots trying to escape after an attack. These were men who intended to die and take us with them. When the alarm sounded, your heart jumped into your throat because you knew the next few seconds would decide everything. I watched planes crash into ships, explosions so violent they seemed unreal. We fought fires while ammunition cooked off nearby. We worked through exhaustion because stopping wasn't an option. Every man understood that survival depended on everyone else doing their job, no matter how afraid they were. I saw ordinary sailors become heroes in those days, performing acts of bravery without thinking, simply because it had to be done. The bonds we formed were instantaneous, forged in fire and steel. Life at sea was also punctuated by long periods of waiting. You would go days without seeing another ship, weeks without seeing land. During those times, we tried to keep our spirits up. Letters from home were cherished more than food. We played cards, shared stories, sang quietly, and tried to remember the lives we had left behind. I remember one night looking at the stars, the ocean reflecting the moonlight, and thinking about my mother. I missed her voice, her touch, her gentle scolding. War had a way of stripping away everything familiar, leaving only the raw essentials: survival, duty, and camaraderie. I survived more than once when I shouldn't have. There was a night when our ship was nearly hit, when debris rained down on the deck and a blast knocked me to the ground. For a moment, I couldn't hear anything. I thought I had lost my hearing or that I was dead. When the ringing faded and I realized I was still alive, I felt something I had never felt before: gratitude mixed with guilt. Gratitude that I had survived, guilt because others hadn't. That feeling never really goes away. You carry it quietly, like a shadow walking beside you, reminding you of what was lost and what was spared. In the quiet moments between battles, we shared memories and fears. We spoke of home, of the girls we left behind, of dreams that seemed absurd in the face of what we were living. Some of us tried to write letters, others kept journals, and a few simply stared at the horizon, lost in thought. It was during these moments that I realized the war wasn't just about ships and battles. It was about people. Each sailor, each Marine, each pilot was fighting for more than territory or victory. They were fighting for their lives, for each other, and for a world that might still make sense when the smoke cleared. The war also taught me the fragility of life. I saw young men with their whole futures ahead of them taken in an instant. I saw fear, pain, and bravery intertwine in ways that defy description. Once, during a landing operation, a friend I had trained with was hit. There was nothing I could do. I held his hand until he was gone. That image, that feeling of helplessness has never left me. It became a lens through which I viewed the world. Life is fragile, and yet, despite its fragility, it demands courage. When the war finally ended, I expected to feel joy. And I did for a moment, but mostly I felt tired, deeply tired. Coming home was strange. The world had moved on without us. People talked about victory and celebration, but they didn't see the faces we saw when we closed our eyes. I tried to put the war behind me, I built a life. I worked hard. I raised a family. I learned how to laugh again. But certain sounds still made my heart race. Certain memories returned without warning. A sudden noise on the street, a plane overhead, the crack of a branch underfoot. These would transport me back to the deck of a ship, to the chaos of battle. Over time, I learned to live with those memories, to carry them without letting them consume me. I became a father, a husband, a friend. I told my children about the importance of courage and honor, without telling them the darker parts they weren't ready to understand. I found solace in small things, gardening, walking along the shore, listening to music that reminded me of home. And yet the war remained, woven into the fabric of who I am. It is not something you leave behind. It is something that leaves its mark on you forever. Now, in old age, I find myself thinking about the war more often, not less. I think about the boys I served with, many of whom never made it home. I think about how young we were and how quickly we were forced to grow up. I don't tell these stories to be praised or pitied. I tell them because they are real and because time is running out for those of us who remember. War is not just history. It is lived experience, carried quietly by people who survived it. And those memories carry lessons, lessons about humanity, courage, fear, and the price of freedom. I was a sailor in the United States Navy during World War II. I saw fear, courage, loss, and resilience all in the same day. I survived when many did not, and I carry their memory with me. I remember the smells of diesel and salt, the roar of guns, the heat of explosions, the coldness of the night sea. I remember laughter, tears, camaraderie, and silence. All of it is stitched into me. And as long as I can speak, I will remember them. As long as someone listens, they will not be forgotten. My story is not unique. It is one of many, but it is important. It is a testament to survival, to the endurance of the human spirit, and to the memory of those who gave everything so that others might live. The war shaped me, and in turn I shaped the life that came after it. I learned patience, resilience, and the importance of small joys. I learned to hold my loved ones close, to cherish each day, and to remember those who could not. I learned that even in the darkest times there is light, sometimes in the courage of a comrade, sometimes in the kindness of a stranger, and sometimes in the simple act of surviving. And perhaps most importantly, I learned that remembering is a form of honoring, a way to keep the past alive, so that the lessons, the sacrifices, and the humanity of those who lived it are never lost. I am Thomas Edward Miller. I served in the United States Navy during World War II. I survived, and I remember. And in remembering, I honor them all.